What's up, Space Squad? Heidi ho. I know it's been a minute, but we're trying out a new style of content here. So today, what I want to talk about are my personal thoughts and opinions on One D&D. So let's get right into it. Now I know a lot of creators are currently sharing, what they think about it. So I thought I'd do the same, especially because the expert classes UA survey closes in just a couple of days. So make sure you go fill that out because you can impact the future of D&D, and that's kind of crazy. So, one D&D, really quickly. What is it? Basically, it's 6th edition of D&D, but we're not calling it that. We're calling it One D&D, but the name is subject to change. Personally, I think it's kind of lame. It sounds kind of stupid. Can we just get 6th edition, please? Or 5.5, since it's backwards compatible. That brings me to my first point, the backwards compatibility. I love that shit. I think that is super great. It's like allows players to still use all of the like products and stuff that they've already bought. So it's like, it keeps people still like investing in future content, but they still feel like everything that they've already purchased is worth something. At least that's how I feel about it, because I'm like, okay, well, at least now I can play all the new stuff, but I still don't have to get rid of all my old stuff. And I think that's really great. And it also allows people that are trying to get into the game, it still makes the rules like fairly simple to understand because, D&D, while compared to a lot of other TTRPGs, I think can be pretty simple. I still think it's so much to like really like get into, and to like fully understand, especially if you want to be a dirty min-maxer like myself. um so yeah, let's talk a bit more specifics here. Okay, so here we are on the D&D Beyond website. Just really quick, because basically all I have to do to go like check out these PDFs, it's super simple. You just go to the D&D Beyond website, and then you see on their menu, you can go to sources, and then it says right here, One D&D playtest. You click that. You got to click a couple more buttons, but then you can just basically go download the PDFs, and it's pretty simple. So I really wanted to talk about actually both the character origins and the expert classes, especially since I think we're going to get the next set of classes dropped probably a couple weeks after this survey ends. That's just my guess. But I mean, I could also be wrong. So, So, um here now we're on the PDF. This is the first PDF they released for the character origins, and already like a lot of things have been changed, like the crit rule. So they're definitely listening to the community. Great thing, which is why I think the surveys are so important. But while I really like the fact that like backgrounds are becoming more useful, I think that especially because backgrounds now like they give you a +1 to an ability score, and mm, I I think that makes sense, but I don't know, personally they might change this, but I think it would be cool if like your base class, like if you just chose your base class and then right then and there that gives you like the +2 to any one ability score. um I think that just streamlines things, and it would make things like a lot easier, especially for newer players, because I've taught a lot of new people how to play, and unfortunately, like sometimes explaining the stats, it can be a bit confusing. And like you can play your character however you want, but I feel like that +2 to the most important score, just like right off the bat, I feel like it helps a lot in driving how like important that stat probably is to your character. Also, the level 1 feats, that's something that I'm kind of in love with. Sorry, I'm not actually going like off this in order. I'm just kind of talking. I think it is just that you get to choose them, but I was thinking about, sorry, 5e right now, where all the feats that you can get at like level 1 are tied to your background with the Strixhaven Initiate and then all of the Spelljammer backgrounds, which I really like those. I think they're interesting, but it definitely also does like show a really like big power kind of creep, and I think that's okay because I don't want to really call it a power creep. I think it's more of a they were trying to test things they wanted to test for One D&D in while we were still like playing 5e, so they're just throwing little bits and pieces here and there. That's, I could be wrong, but that's just personally how I see it. So yeah, we also get a new, most of the races are all the same, but they've kind of just been adjusted a little bit. Nothing too crazy. I think I would still like just to get the maybe the +1 for your race, but then you could just like shift it. But that's just personally what I like. But I don't have any huge gripes with this, especially since it is backwards compatible, because like if you still want to do it, like Tasha's method, you can totally still do that the way they released it in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. At least from so far, like I don't see any major discrepancies, like in terms of like character strength, especially if you're still like giving that level 1 feat to everyone, no matter what background you choose, even if you're using like a 5e character with a 1D&D group. I do want to talk about the new race called the Ardling. I thought like ASMR were always supposed to be kind of like the opposite of tieflings, but I think that's what the Ardling is. Holy hell, guys. I'm not a fan. I think they're weird. Personally, not my favorite race. I think wizards could have been a lot more creative. There's kind of a lot more cool things they could do rather than just be like celestial blood, animal head, big brain. But hey, you never know. I think you could do a lot of cool things with it. But also I think the fact that there are just so many different animals like all in the same race, I feel like they were just like, all right guys, we just need like furry bait to like get them all in like one. Just like we just need like a home run, like a one hitter, like a one and done. And I'm like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that, especially since when we already have races for like a lot of quite a lot of these like animals, and I know they are very different races, but come on, like really, like we have the Loxodon and we literally have Owlin, and we have Grung. I know frogs and toads are different, so fair. But we also have like Kenku and Tabaxi and the Lianon people. I forget their actual name, right? And we have Aerococras for eagles and stuff, and just not my personal favorite race. And I think the spells they get, they're fine, but it's nothing like crazy. Like the Celestial Legacy abilities, I don't know. It's okay. Not my favorite. But anyway, it is what it is. New race, diversity. Woohoo! Pog champions. I'm so sorry. Um I really don't know why for the Dragonborn they didn't just use like the Fizban's Dragonborn. That I didn't understand, and that I also wasn't a big fan of. I really hope they had the Fizbins because I'm a huge Gem Dragon stan. I love the neutral gang. But I guess they were like, no thanks, and I'm like, okay. Um did they also, I believe they also don't even have metallic here. And yeah, I understand it's also probably simplified because it is playtest right now, but I don't know. It's kind of sus. But anyway, moving on to the expert classes. Wow, there's so much here that's like really good and some things I'm not a fan of. I like a lot of the feats that they did change. I know Great Weapon that with Great Weapon Master, a lot of people are kind of sad about that, but I think it is a good balancing thing. I personally haven't play tested at that feat, so I don't know the huge difference. I usually play more of a caster. When I do play, I'm usually DM, so not super sure how I feel about that kind of stuff. And for guidance, I know that's that's one thing a lot of people were upset about. For me, how I do it, I love the reaction part and I love that you can do it on a failure. I really like that. But I just give it the unlimited uses. Like I don't think it's that big of a deal, especially if it's like a verbal somatic material component still, because then it's like your player has to particularly be like, okay, so I'm gonna try and, you know, use this spell as a reaction, but like how? Like if you're in a social scenario, like are you just gonna like whip out, you know, like whatever components you need and be like, haha, spell, you know? Like even with the sorcerer's subtle spell, like that's still them using a resource. So I've never had a problem with guidance personally in my games. Um, like of people just kind of spamming it because I think guidance is super useful, but it's also very, very limited in the actual application of it if you think about how the spell actually like functions. And everyone runs their games differently, and that's totally cool too, you know? I do like that they go over like the power level stuff because, you know, it is place test. The one thing I really want to talk about are the class groups. I'm not sure how I feel about the class groups as a whole. I know they want to simplify things, but to me it doesn't make sense because why do you have a druid and a priest category? I don't understand that. I get that all the experts have like the expert skill, but to me that these classes don't even like they don't super mesh well together. And when you have the artificer, the fact that they're also like an expert, that makes sense, but the fact that they're probably not going to be in the book is really upsetting to me, especially because they went through so much work to like publish Artificer and Eberron's and then republish it in Tasha's to like make it feel like it actually is a true class in the game. What are you gonna do? That's my big gripe. For me, the way I would sort the classes, I'd have them as full casters, half casters, marshals, and then warlocks with pack magic, because I think warlocks work so differently than other casters. Personally, that's how I'd sort them based if we're going off of like mechanics, because it feels like here they tried to go off theme, but you can theme a character however you want to theme a character, and that's why I'm not a huge fan of this list. I feel like also, I don't think it's in here, but with the way that they categorize the different spell lists in this document, it's okay. With the like primal list, like I like that and I think that makes things more streamlined, but I also feel like you could just do it based off schools of magic because I feel like that's more established and people kind of understand that. But I also again see how that might be an issue with the way that like some spells fall under some certain schools of magic, like with some healing spells falling, you know, under the necromancy school of magic, which does make sense, but also like you might not want a cleric like being like anyway, sorry. I just kind of wanted to talk about this and share my thoughts about it with you guys. I like a lot of the features, but of the main classes themselves, but for me the main problem that I have comes in with the subclass features a lot of the time. And I know like everyone was really upset, not everyone, but I heard a lot of people talking about how they were upset with you know, the lore bard like losing the 6th level magical secrets, and I'm like, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I also think there could have been better skills, like that going into it, because I like a lot of the direction they're going with the base classes. Everything feels like stronger, a little bit easier to understand, but I feel like the subclasses, in the fact that they're trying to streamline everything, they're losing a lot more of like the flavor and the variability that you can do with subclasses. But that's just my personal opinion. I highly encourage everyone, if you like D&D, to go check out these documents yourselves, read them. This is kind of just my brief overview on like everything word vomiting. When the new one goes out, hopefully I'll go over it in detail if that's something you guys want to see, is me actually like talking about it and going over it. But I figured these have been out for a while, so I'll just word vomit. I think warlocks personally should be able to cast with any stat that's like mental or even constitution, like determined by their patron. I think that would be super cool, but that's a hot take for another time. Anyway, thanks for listening to my super rambly all over the place thoughts. I hope you guys have a amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye.